Good day, everybody. Nice to see all of you. Welcome, welcome. Let's admit everybody in first. Okay.
Hi, Dr. Koo. How are you today?
I am fine, I guess.
Are you so sad?
Just been a very, very, very busy day, but yeah, everything is fine. How about you? How's your day? How's it going?
So far, so good. But Miss, actually, we have a few questions that me and Luby wanted to ask you before class started.
What's up?
Okay, number one, in your MIB, right? I think there's a mix-up with the weeks and the date allocation for submission for assignment 3 and 4.
Wait, let me just double check. Mix up of the dates.
Yeah, because it's supposed to be due
Week 8 and last week and the week before, if I'm not wrong. But
yeah, week
it
10 and
doesn't
week
match up.
12, if I'm not mistaken. But then the date that you allocated was different.
Hold on. Let me double check first. Okay, let's just take a look about the information and assignment brief. So you are saying that the week is different, is it?
The
Yeah.
date, yeah, yep.
Let's double check that. All right. Okay, go on with your question while I double check. What's up? What other questions do you have?
Hold on, yeah. So the other one is like apart from because I send you kind of like my sample, right? But we both are kind of still kind of lost on possible topics that we can use for like what are possible topics for OC.
I thought, remember when we were going through the assignment brief last week, I was telling all of you that easiest way for you to go about it is to look at the topic of the organizational module information brief. So whatever informations that you have inside the module information brief, those are the kind of topics that you can actually incorporate into finding the articles that you want.
Okay. So for example, right? Let's say we want to take something related to leadership. Could the
Okay.
let's say like the first one is about one specific type of leadership and the second one is a different type of leadership. Can it be
All
like
right.
that? Or
Yeah.
should it be like the same for both the articles? So
Not really, because I think what I'm looking for is really more on a discussion of the major concepts. So what you're talking about is really when you go into the detail, right? What kind of
mhm.
leadership style? No, I do not require you to look into just one specific style or one small area. But the idea is this, okay? The article 1 and 2 that you pick, it both should be having some common ground by which you can compare,
Okay.
right? So let's say, for example, if you were to pick both of it as leadership, so that's fine because then you get to just choose to how do I say, choose to compare the area of the leadership, but it's just that they are mentioning the two different styles. And then actually those are the kind of similarity and differences where you compare the differences and you see, all right, so this style seems to work better in this kind of organization, whereas for the other one, this seems to work much better kind of thing. You get what I mean?
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah.
All right, let's just see. Okay, so first assignment due date. You're talking about assignment 3 and 4, right?
Yeah. The weeks and the dates doesn't match up.
Okay, wait, let me take a look at the MIB first. Weeks and the date doesn't match. Let me take a look.
Yeah, Miss, because by right, if I'm not mistaken, it's
Let's
supposed to be
take a
the
look.
10th and the 24th, not the 3rd and the 17th. If we follow the weeks that you allocated.
Oh,
Wait, okay, let's take a look at the date. 3rd of August, 3rd of August.
It's week
falls into
9.
week 9.
Okay, it's week 9. Whereas 17 is supposed to be week 11, am I right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, okay, so I've changed it sort of like a 1 week earlier. All right. Okay. Well, let's just take a look at this. So how are we going to change this? Okay. All right. Thanks for letting me know. I'm going to update it and then I will let y'all, I will upload the updated MI assignment brief. Okay. Let's just see. So in that case, that means the submission, because the submission should be in week 12 and week 10. So in another word, we will be on the 10th of August is when you were to submit assignment 3, whereas assignment 4 will be submitted on 10th of August, and then the other one is going to be on the 24th. Right? Okay. All right. That's week 12. Okay. So I will change that and I will re-upload. Okay. So for the rest of you who are paying attention, just note that the deadline has sort of been brought forth one week later. Okay. Because we should be following the MIB where week 10 and 12 should be the submission for the final ones. But the week 1 and 2, the first 2 assignments is all right? The date doesn't tallies, right?
Yeah, miss, the first and the second are fine. It's just the other 2 that was a bit off.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right. So any other questions with regards to the assignment?
From me, no, miss, not anymore. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm okay also. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Okay, I did receive quite a couple of emails from all of you with regards to the article that all of you are using for your assignment. And I think I've given feedback. Do I have anybody who have not received any feedback from me yet? I know Anna just sent right before the class, so I guess after the class, I will take a look at your articles and try to get back to you within these 2 days, all right? But what about, can you make 3rd of August and bring it forward? I want to celebrate my birthday. Okay, wait, what do you mean, Gary? You mean you want to make sure the assignment finishes on the 3rd? Instead of the 10th? Is that what you're saying? If you want to, my birthday is on the 2nd. Okay. Then good lah. Then you don't need to. Then you don't need to worry about your assignment. Now it's gonna be on the 10th, right? So 10 and 24. So you got your wish, my dear. Okay, so your birthday is on the 2nd. So everybody remember, okay, 3rd of August we'll celebrate Gary's birthday in Fang. Any July, June, July, and August baby in here? Okay. We have a June baby here, huh? Okay, Asha's is a June baby. June baby? June baby, but now it's already mid-June. Is it past already? Do we have to send you the articles we choose for assignment 1? Xianghai, it will be best actually if you were to send it over to me so that I can actually take a look and make sure that you're on the right direction. So say, for example, there are some of the students who sent me of which I commented on the article. I will take a look at the article because, for example, some of you send me book chapter instead of a journal article. So what I wanted is actually a journal article review. So those are the kind of things that I look for. I make sure that the years are updated. I make sure that the concept that you are covering, say from both articles, are also that they tally to each other. So that would be the best if you were to show me first before you move on so that you don't have to do a double triple work. But of course, if you're very confident with your article, feel free to go ahead without going through me. It's not a must to go through me for approval or anything like that, but just more of a consultative basis of whether your article is suitable or not. Okay, I hope that answers Xiang Han's question. June 29, the first assignment submission day. Yeah. Ayo, Kale, so your birthday is on June 29. Okay. Never mind. Submit the first assignment. Poor thing you all, whenever you all have classes on your birthday, that's kind of like, one of the worst thing that happened, isn't it? Okay. All right. And okay, good. Let's see. There's 26 of you in the class right now. Okay, that's very, very good. So welcome once again. It's good that we started off the class just now having questions with regards to the assignment. So again, I apologize that the week was sort of the dates and the week doesn't tally, but just remember this, okay, that your submission is going to be on week 10 and week 12. So week 10 is going to be on the 10th of August, where you submit your assignment 3, and then on the 24th of August for assignment 4. I will change the date and I will update the assignment brief, okay? So once I get the assignment brief done, I will upload it right after this class, okay? I'll get it done. Okay, all right. Let's just list it down to make sure that I get it done. All right, so other than that, any questions with regards to the first assignment so far? I'm glad that some of you are moving on, okay? I'm glad that some of you are moving on. With regards to the assignment, already starting to find the article, identifying the articles and so on. Anybody have difficulty identifying the right article? I know some of you were mentioning that you struggle to understand the methodology, right? So if you don't understand the methodology that's being brought out in the paper, what you can do is also share with me the article, and then I can take a look at it, and then possibly we can go through the paper together as well, so that I can actually kind of explain to all of you how the methodology works as well, okay? So please do not be worried about that. Just find the right articles, especially with regards to organizational communication topics that you yourself enjoy, all right? Now, again, I understand totally that in your initial selections, I think many of you, it's sort of like a very blur line when you're talking about organizational communication and things such as marketing, okay? Why do I say that? Because obviously when you are discussing about communication with your customer, right? Communication with your customer, technically that is considered to be a form of marketing, right? So you, Songbo will be late to class due to network problem. Okay, all right, noted on that, Wei. Thank you for informing me. So yeah, so sometimes I think students get confused between things like marketing and external communication, all right? But can you consider marketing to be part of organizational communication? Yes, it is, because indirectly marketing is what branches out from you communicating, right? You communicate to your customer, you communicate to your potential customer. So technically, marketing does fall under organizational communication. However, you will realize that the niche of marketing, right, has become very niche by itself. And there's a lot of things to be covered when you talk about the marketing itself, all right? So therefore, this is a question of, in this class especially, I would want all of you to focus more on really the aspect of communicating within an organization, and also the messages that you're sending out of your company, all right? So let's try to focus on that rather than on the issues of marketing products, for example, all right? So I hope that gives you a better picture as well on the idea of organizational communication by itself, okay? Today, my brain seems to be a little bit stuck. Words seems to come off not right, just can't seem to say the words. All right, so yes, that will be it. The time limit for choosing the articles after 2016 is a little difficult. And one more question from me is, can we use articles in our mother tongue? Well, Xianghan, first of all, if I can understand Chinese, then it is perfectly fine for you to choose an article that is in Chinese, But unfortunately, I can't read Chinese. So if you were to get the article that is based in Chinese, two things that it would be an issue. First of all, is the translation itself, right? Translating the review into English, especially in terms of methodology and all of that, that would be pretty challenging. And number two, why the reason I picked 2016 onwards, as I always tell my student, things are constantly evolving, things are constantly changing. Whenever I ask all of you to select articles which are above 2016, that's really not trying to make life difficult for all of you, but really is to, for us all to keep updated with the latest ongoing. Especially I enjoy it when students get article from year 2021, 2020, 2019. The pandemic obviously has changed a lot of things, even in the field of media and communication. So we have to be updated. We have to keep with what is the latest things that is ongoing, what is the latest discussion and debates regarding organizational communication. Of course, the last few years, the trend has always been what are the most effective medium. If you were to look at the recent research, it's all about the leadership has always been an evergreen topic, right? To talk about what kind of leader is suitable, messaging that you are sending out, and employee satisfaction, how people are happy, and of course the look into the well-being and mental health of employee as well has always been a hot topic for the past few years, research trend that I noticed of. You see, that's the reasons why I choose 2016 onwards, because the past 5 years, discussion has been very different compared to the previous time when you say you go back to year 2010, right? So I hope that helps you, Xiang Han. Well, don't worry about the struggle of choosing the articles. You still have time. It's only week 2, right? So you still have 2 more weeks for you to really finalize your article and to work on the review. Okay, so I hope that helps. Any other question? Roger that. Thank you, Professor. I'm not a professor, Xiang Han. Just call me Doctor will do. Okay. I not yet get my professorship. One day lah. One day. Okay. All of you should pray hard for me to get my professorship. Okay. Thank you, Xiang Han. Okay. All right. Now, any other question? No question, yeah? All right, no question. Can I get a thumbs up from everybody? For those who doesn't have question. Okay, let's see. Asmira, how detailed do we have to be in reviewing the article? Because both my article elaborated so much in the result. Do I have to write it line by line? Because there are so many parts in CMS and big 5 personality traits. Now, this is one of the most, okay, now, everybody, have you ever wondered why at master level or even PhD level, right? One of the things that you dreaded to do the most is what? Reviewing article, right? But why is it that so many of your classes revolves around reviewing articles? All right, but let me share with you the big picture. At the end of the day, the most important skill that a managerial level person should have. So say, for example, one day when you become a manager and you are to do a presentation in front of the top management, one very important skills that you need to really hone yourself, okay, especially if you are in the field of communication, is the ability to synthesize. Now, I'm not sure how often do you hear this, but the skill of synthesizing means, all right, Asmira will be like, Doctor, I just asked one question, like, wow, so you go on a lengthy talk about the overall master skills, right? But yes, this is all related. Reason being because, okay, whenever we talk about synthesizing means summary, right? I think since you are young, you have been taught on how to summarize an article. Am I right? You are given something and you are taught to summarize. So what is it that when you were learning during your early days in school, when people tell you to summarize, right? What do you usually do? Usually what people do is that they pick up the few main points, they change the wording, and then ta-da, that is the summary, right? You try to shorten the amount of words as much as possible. That's one of the first skills that you learn. But synthesizing is more than summarizing. Yes, it involves summarizing, but it's synthesizing means you are compacting the lessons behind the words. It's not just shortening the words, but it's about compacting the findings. So to your question, you ask, there are so many parts. Do you have to go line by line? Obviously, no, right? That's the reason why many students who done very poorly in article review, maybe even some of you who were in this class, in my class the previous semester, the reason why some of you will get low mark for article review is very simple. It's because whatever there is in the article, you just take it word for word, you copy it over, and then you try to shorten it. That is not a journal article review. Okay? It's just like when I imagine this, right? I always tell my students, you imagine reviewing an article like reviewing a movie. When you review a movie, you don't tell somebody scene by scene what happened. Am I right? You don't tell people, oh, you know, in the beginning of the movie, it was like that. And then after that, they move on to the next scene. And then they move on to the third scene, the fourth scene, the fifth scene until the end. You don't go through it line by line, right? He said that, she said that. No, you never talk about what the actors say in a movie review. But what you do is that you pick the gist of the story, right? So you will say, okay, so this story is about a man trying to save his daughter, and the daughter was kidnapped by a bad guy. So basically that kind of summarizes it already. So the idea of reviewing an article is that you give the gist, and then what is the rest of the thing? Is the movie taken? Well, you know, I will find you and I will kill you, right? Okay. Anyway, so yes, so when you are reviewing a movie, you will also talk. What do you talk about when you are reviewing a movie? You talk about the lighting. You talk about the speed of the movie, right? You will be like, oh, you know, this movie was so slow going. Although you may be talking about the actor's acting skill. So do you realize that in a movie review, what happens in the movie is being looked at from a different perspective than just telling the audience the whole story? So same thing when you're reviewing an article, you don't tell your audience whatever that's happening inside the article. You see, I can read the article myself, right? Thank you very much. So what you have to do is when you take the two articles, you basically, the part where you talk about whatever that's happening in there should be looked at from your perspective. So what do you think? That's why you remember one of the things that you cover in the review is the application in a practical environment. I want you to actually take a look at the article. Don't just look at it as a research, but how does it apply to you? Do you feel that the idea is obsolete? You know, the concept is not usable anymore. Your review can even include that you think that, you know, I think the researcher has been using a methodology that is very complicated or is not accurate. Try to look at it as the researcher is sharing something. When a researcher is sharing something to you, you may not 100% agree with it, right? I think we can go to IMDb review section to find lots of examples. Yes, Xianghan, right? That's a good way of looking at it, right? When you go IMDb, like kind of right, when that is what you call the summary, not the synthesis, you know. So the skill of synthesizing is about looking at the article from a different perspective. Now, for all of you, this is a very crucial skill, even for your literature review when you reaches the milestone of research project at the end of the semester. When you are doing a research, the idea is not asking you, you read a lot of article, then combine, copy and paste. It doesn't work that way. The idea is for you to understand it, take in the idea, and then come out fresh from you, your take, your perception, your idea from whatever that you have read. Whatever you read should be the base. Can we include examples outside of the paper, like our own example that supports the results in the article? Right. Asmira, you're not the first to ask this question. So when you are doing a review of an article, a journal article in an academic paper, a journal review will always be that you can give real life example of, say, for example, now we are talking about organizational communication, right? So you can talk about an actual organization. Say, for example, you may put the example of Facebook, or you may give the example of Google, or you may give the example of Malaysian companies or public listed companies and so on. So you can always include examples which are known to the public in your paper. And of course, those examples should be something that is substantiate, directly related to the concepts that you are studying. Now, personal experiences does not count in the review. So what do I mean by that? When you are writing an academic paper, your personal experience should not be taken into consideration because you are to be objective in your review. Personal experience, meaning that you will be telling inside the paper of your review, there was a time when I was working with this particular company. So when I was working with this particular company, I was unhappy. Remember, I told all of you in the assignment brief, there are times when you call it self-reflection. Self-reflections are not academic papers. Self-reflection, that's where we talk about your personal experience. But when you are writing an academic paper, your own personal experience does not count. You can always cite case study, right? Like I said, Facebook, Google, blah, 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 things that are happening in real world. You can always cite that. You can always cite COVID. You can always cite all of these things and relate it to whatever that's happening in the real world. But the example must be general enough for everybody to know what you are talking about. That is the reason why personal experience does not count in a review, right? Because the reason why I go at such a length also as Mira is because there are some people who there are students who come to me and ask me whether can we include personal experience in the part of the practical application? So the answer is no. Yeah. What if it is about my own experience, which lets me know what a company does instead of writing about what I felt while working there? Again, that is still a no, Mingye. Reason being because that is your experience from your perspective. You see, remember this, in an academic paper writing, you can have your opinion being heard. But you remember that if you were to look at many reviews of professional papers, they always refer to themselves as the researcher opine, the researcher suggests. So you can have your opinion, you can suggest things, but you cannot have anything that is talking about your personal experience, even though this is relating to the company that you're working for. Again, that is from your lens as a personal person, and not so much when you are putting on the researcher cap. So academic writing has a very clear cut that anything personal other than opinion and suggestion should not be included in an academic paper. All right, so I hope that's clear. Okay, all right. Crystal, yeah, okay. Hold on, I'm just gonna lay off the sound of my phone. Any other questions from the group? Anybody? Any question, inquiries with regards to the assignment? I love it when you guys ask questions and talk, at least I know what you all are doubting. Okay. All right, no more question, yeah? No more question. Can I have a thumbs up from everybody before we begin the class for today, right? Okay, very good. Now, let's work on today's topic, okay? Now, all of you will notice that I've uploaded today's slide already, okay? Now, today's topic is we're going to be looking into the idea of classical management. Now, everybody, Go get your coffee. What's the time now? 6:30. Okay, I still can drink coffee for some people, right? Get your coffee, get your get your food, munch, do whatever you need, okay? But I just want all of you to, I'm just gonna run through the history of organizational comp with you, all right? And later on, once we are done, I would ask all of you for more of your opinion, and for you to really, again, look into this in a real life current situation. Okay, so I'm going to take you guys back in time a little bit. Therefore, I know it can be boring, but stay on with me, and yeah, just do your best to pay your attention. Okay, when I launch into my storytelling, right? Okay, now the idea of organizational communication had always started from classical management. Every class of management will begins with this, right? Where if you were to look at the timeline of history, once upon a time, somebody built the pyramid, right? 3,000 years ago, the idea of building a pyramid in China, the construction of the Great Wall of China, those are what you call the beginning of managing a huge group of people, right? Managing a huge group of people to get a task done. Now, the idea of organization is that you are all working towards the same objective. Of course, nowadays, most companies, your main objective is to earn money, right? Sell something, earn money. But at the end of the day, there's always a goal that everybody in the company is looking forward to achieve, right? So that is the beginning of management in history. If we were to look at the Great Wall of China, if we were to look at the building of the pyramid. Now, 1771 is when Robert Owen came into the picture. He's the father of classical management. Now, of course, in the early 1800s, right? You can imagine like during those times, children were working, right? Because children are not as lucky as us today, where you get education all the way to university. Back then, of course, education was not something that's emphasized on, which means a lot of children were being used to work in factories. In 1800, you can imagine the amount of factories that were coming up because it was the Industrial Revolution, right? I'm sure all of you have heard, where factories are building like crazy and mass production of physical product became the main thing of the day. So there were so many factories. Now, this guy, Robert Owen, in Scotland, he was looking and he was the manager of a factory that makes cotton. So what happened was that he was looking at these workers and they were like children that are aged 5 to 6 years old. And these children are working 13 hours per day. Can you imagine that? Working 13 hours, my dear. I think today we work 8 hours and we feel like we're going to die already, right? But these people were working, and you're talking about 5 to 6 years old kids working for 13 hours in a factory, trying to churn out the cotton. Right? Today, you will call that child abuse, but back then, of course, it was an acceptable thing, right? Now, what he did was that he started this idea that, all right, so what I do is I do have a lot of workers who are very young, 5 to 6 years old. Now, I'm not saying he's not, I don't know if he's a good person or he's not, but at the end of the day, his idea was that I want to increase productivity, right? I want to make sure that my factory is producing more cotton. So how do I go about doing that? First thing first, what he did was he made sure that the kids have a comfortable housing, keeps your motivation up, right? You set up retail shops where inside the factory, people can buy cheap stuff, cheap food, cheap stuff, because you are the worker. So it's not kind of like the introduction of worker benefits. And he reduced the working hours from 13 hours to 10 and a half hours. But the idea is that he recruits workers who are 10 years old and above, instead of using kids who are 5 to 6 years old. I mean, obviously, kids who are 10 years old and above works much better than kids who are 5 to 6 years old. So the idea is reduce the hour, but you recruit the worker who are older, right? Making sure that they are comfortable. So what he did was he used psychological evaluation. So the idea of motivating your workers starts to begin in classical management. So you use psychological evaluation and then you introduce work procedures in place. So those were the things that he did. Now, from his work, there was a mathematics professor called Charles Babbage who actually do his mathematical studies on factory work. And he was like, if I want people to become even more productive, if I want my factory to produce even more things, there need to be a division of work, making sure people are only specializing in one thing. So if you are the person who is putting the cotton into the plastic, that's the only thing you do the whole day. Rather than moving you from station to station, I divide the work and then I make sure that you keep repeating it and you become a specialist in that sense, right? So his contribution is that the more you keep repeating the same action, the faster you become. So work should be divided by your specialty or by your expertise. So the idea starts there. Now, that is what you call the time of classical management. Very old, very basic kind of thing. Now, from classical management, we soon move to an era of scientific management. Now, scientific management is where this guy called Frederick Taylor came into picture. Now, what Frederick Taylor did is, Frederick Taylor is a very smart guy. He is a technician, an engineer, a lecturer, and a consultant. He's really good at what he's doing. So what happened again, because back then it was all factories, right? So you have to bear in mind that all the original organizational communication that you can learn of comes from the time where Industrial Revolution was high and it was all about factories. So what he did was, he was again a manager of Midvale Steel, a company that makes steel, of course, right? So what he did was, he came up with this idea called the time and motion study, where basically people who works in factory, they are paid by the number of hours they work, right? So the more hours you work, the more you get paid. Now, in this factory, what he noticed was this: workers refuse to work at a fast rate because the faster you work, then the lesser money you get. So why should I finish my work earlier? The idea of paying people by their time, number of hours that they work, was not really working well, especially in the concept of a factory. So what he did was, he introduced incentive. The faster you finish your work, the more you do your work, then the more money you get. So he started this idea called the time and motion study. All right. Now he moved on to another company called the Simon Rolling Machine. So what he did was, he was observing 120 women that was you know, when you're a bicycle, right? When you have a bicycle, for the alignment to be balanced, they actually used to have this thing called the bicycle ball bearing. Now, what he did was, these 120 women, their responsibility in the company was to put in the bicycle ball bearing. So he was observing their time and their movement. And then what he did was, he identified the person who is the fastest, and then he made sure everybody else imitates the one who is the fastest in terms of action. Now, whoever that is really slow, he fired them off. And then he introduces the idea of resting more. Then, just like how he do incentive in Midvale, in Simon, he did the same, where the more work you get, the more productive you are, the more you get paid. So the idea is changing so that people will stop moving slow. Now, what is the result of it? Of course, the cost of production was reduced. Why? Because he hired lesser people, but these lesser people is actually carrying the bulk of more people because they are working faster. Can you imagine that? He managed to reduce 120 people to 35 people to do the same work. Not only that, the production increases, the quality increases, and of course, because now you have lesser people, you can actually give them more salary. So these 35 people is getting paid way more. They are happy. They get salary increase of 80 to almost 100%. And their job precision, because they are doing the time and motion study all the time, following the most skilled person, the job precision also increase. Now again, he hopped to another company. When he hopped to another company, Bethlehem Steel Company, what this company do was that, they actually have all these steel that you use for construction and etc., where you have to actually move the steel into the train or move the steel into a large lorry to transport every day, right? So it's a humongous work because back then there was no so much of good machinery. Again, he applied the same motion of the same idea of time and motion, where he was like, okay, now everybody only managed to load 12.5 tons per day. So he said, okay, I want all of you to increase by 4 times, 47.5 tons per day, but you get paid way more. Can you imagine that from daily wages of 1 ringgit and 15 cents, you are getting paid 1 ringgit and 85 cents if you can achieve the target of 47.5 tons. And guess what? The effort increased, they managed to do it, and also the productivity increased. So whatever he's doing is working, but the people hate him. Why? Because he was firing people who were slow. He fired off people who were slow. He was basically shrinking down the company. So in 1912, workers at the Watertown factory, Arsenal, Massachusetts, actually stopped working and demonstrate. Because they're like, oh, you're making us work so fast, and yet there are some people who get fired, people were fired. We are not happy because you fired these people, right? Emotions get into place. That is why he's known as the father of scientific management, because it's not really into emotions, huh? Okay, so these are his basic principles. Basically, he looked at things very scientifically. He select and he's trained his worker through a scientific manner. And then he tried to make sure that, everybody complements everybody, where when people all work together in a factory, 1 will always lead to 2, 2 will always lead to 3. There will always be a certain of harmony. And then what he wants is to push all the worker to give the maximum output. And then even the speed by which you work is at your maximum. So the workers is being developed to the fullest, right? So those are his principles that he has taught the society. And I can tell you that these principles are still valid until today, right? Especially in the context of factories. Now, tailors actually have followers who introduces the idea of Gantt chart and PERT analysis. Now, I'm sure all of you know the Gantt chart, right? So Gantt chart is by the guy named Henry Gantt. So what he did was that he's the one who introduces the idea of Gantt chart, where his focus is always like, okay, we must always evaluate our workers' performance and have checkpoint from time to time to see how they are doing. So he always think that is good. And then along the way, you educate your worker on how to achieve it. And the idea is always the management and the worker must work together to come to the milestone. Now, PERT analysis chart, on the other hand, is about finding alternatives, that you make sure that whatever you do, you always evaluate and review your technique, whether it's everything going on well. Okay, step 1. Right? Okay, then if let's say step 1, after that we should head to step 2, 3, and 5. But step 2 can also lead to 3, step 3 can lead to 4. You get the idea, right? There's always the chart inside a company of how things work. So PERT analysis chart and Gantt chart actually flows from the scientific management era. Okay, the idea of Gantt chart and PERT was already introduced by them. Now, of course, this PERT analysis chart will always have its advantages, where it forces people to plan ahead, to focus, and to actually have better control, because you always have, if you look at the chart, PERT is always having different alternatives. Okay, if A go to B, plan B fail, I got plan C fail, I got plan D. it's good, right? Because you're focused and you know what to do, you have good control. However, on a daily basis, things can actually really change. So it's not very suitable for mass production. It's not suitable for routine planning when you try to be too rigid on things. Okay, so it has its advantages and disadvantages. Now, after that, okay, another person that flows from the scientific management era was Frank and Lilia Gilbert. Now, Frank and Lilia Gilbert, they are husband and wife, which again is very interesting. They actually have a movie made about them. It's called Cheaper by the Dozen. I don't know whether any of you have seen the movie, but Cheaper by the Dozen is actually inspired by Frank and Lillian Gilbert. Okay, so Frank and Lillian Gilbert is that Frank Gilbert introduces this idea that every company, the moment you get, like when you work as an intern, right? Intern, or if you're working as an executive, the moment you entry level, right? The moment you go into a company, you are always a doer. You are always a person who's doing a task at hand. Now, according to Frank Gilbert, he says that if you want a person to develop, after they are mastering the doing part, you must either push them to become a learner or they become a teacher. A learner means someone who can do whatever he's doing, but at a higher level, or this person is suited to become a teacher. Same level, but very good at it and able to teach someone else how to do it. Of course, in a company, you can be all three. You can be a learner, doer, and a teacher. So you can undertake all three roles simultaneously. But the idea that he's trying to plant is that everybody has their place in a company. And everybody, you must be able to identify where they are. Are they a doer, are they a learner, or are they a teacher? Now, let's talk about his wife, right? His wife is the first woman industrial psychologist who obtained her PhD in 1915. She was known as the First Lady of Management. So again, like I say, it has a movie, Cheaper by the Dozen. Why is the movie called Cheaper by the Dozen? Because she and Frank have 12 children. So she was doing PhD while having 12 kids. Imagine that, right? Now, her findings when she was doing her PhD, she said that, well, sometimes people don't feel good or about their work, not because they don't like the work, but because they don't feel appreciated. There is a lack of attention from the management. So you see, again, she brings the softer side to scientific management. So that is when, from the time of Lillian Gilbert, things starts to change because you will realize that humans are not robots. Can't treat them like one. So that's the end of the classical scientific management era. All right. The assembly of so the idea, the whole scientific management era has contributed to us understanding how the importance of technical skills, the importance of selecting the right worker using a scientific way, and to understand how to design the job in such a way that it is the most effective way to undertake a task. And of course, the best thing you can do is to have a group of people doing the same task, specializing in it day in, day out. That was the contribution of scientific management. All right. But what is the limitation? Like I mentioned earlier, scientific management fails to look at human being as a rational, and sometimes human can be not rational. Remember, if just now we talk about how tailors keep on using money as the incentive, right? You use money because human, you work for money, right? But it's not rational when a person says money is not everything, right? Because sometimes we have our emotional need. A worker has their emotional side. So you need to focus on their social need, their need for recognition, their need for autonomy, right? And sometimes we fail to see the human needs. I'm sure all of you will concur, sometimes it's not just about the salary or the money when you are looking for a job. Sometimes it's about the people, sometimes it's about the culture. You don't feel that you belong there, right? All right, so I'm going to stop sharing here for a little bit. Is everybody still surviving? Is everybody still good? Let me just check on everybody. Is everybody all right? Okay, so far so good. Anybody have questions? Now, how many of you feel that you belong to the group of classical management? If you are a manager, this is what you will do. Anybody who are liking the idea of classical and scientific management? Or possibly, what is your opinion on the part of the irrational part of human beings? Do you think you yourself are like that? Do you think that you, when you are searching for work, let me ask you, when you are looking for a work or a company to be in, what are some of the things that you are looking for in a company that you work for? Maybe take a 5 minutes breather here. I want all of you to think about it. So what is your take that when you are working, when you go into a company, what do you look for? Let's tackle that question. What do you want? Hamra, I know how do you say it's a good working environment? What define a good working environment? Daniel says maybe depending on industry. Why do you say depending on industry? So what kind of industry needs what kind of management? So Asha says company culture. So what culture do you like? What kind of culture do you enjoy? So Azmira says she likes diversity. Okay. That's interesting. When I go into a company, I don't think I look for diversity. Yeah, never really a factor that I consider. Gary said, I think it's a relevant job scope for my career goal, the distance to travel, the company organization, communication and culture, and salary. Okay, relevant job scope for career goal. That's very important. That means you're looking, I think Luby mentions the same thing. Are you able to grow? You know, are they contributing to your goal? So again, see, that's the irrational part of it, right? I mean, yes, rational to a certain extent because you have a goal that you would like to achieve. But that's the failure of scientific management. They fail to see that individual workers also have their own desire, have their own needs, have their own aim, all right? A company that supports growth, like one needs to be recognized and rewarded for their effort, okay? So all of you are looking for growth. Anything else that you are looking for? Actually, Gary is very practical, talking about the distance to travel. Of course, that's a huge factor, right? More specific job scope too, because this will sharpen your skill set. So Gary, you are thinking about like, okay, hold the thought there, Gary, because I think there's something that I will actually also want to ask all of you in a while. Flexible and creative and be able to work in a team atmosphere. Okay, flexibility. Yeah. Carrie, unlike you, I don't like creativity because I am a very much a by the book person. Creativity is not my strong point, I must say. Being able to work in a team environment, okay? Leaders, their attitudes and strategies may even be very important. Luby say reputation in a way as well of the company, because sometimes, you know, they treat their employee welfare poorly, so don't want to go there. Okay, so you will choose to try to find out whether the company has been treating their people well or not, huh? Which may benefit for a specific position. Okay, Gary. Classical management more suitable for labor job, like warehouse, service line, factory. basically non-office work related. That means production work related lah. Daniel, I think that's what you're trying to convey, right? Hamra is looking for a positive working environment as in a workplace that promotes employee safety, growth, and goal attainment. All right. To be honest, you will only know how the company functions when you are already working with the company. Oh yeah, look at the Glassdoor or JobStreet review before applying. It's so hard to tell from exterior sound. Okay, let's talk about what Asha just said. When you are looking for a job, do you agree that you have to be in the company before you really know what's going on? Do you all agree? Or do you think there are red flags to watch out for before you even step in? Yes, yes, yes. Yes. Gary say half-half. Luby say half-half. So what is the half-half? Okay, Gary, go ahead.
So the reason why I say half-half is actually because I have gone through a lot of job interviews last year, and it's a lot of like not really feeling suitable or whatsoever. I think the reason is because like for example, they always say, "Oh, this company is very family-like culture, wonderful, and all that." Almost close to bullshit. Because when a person is so like keep strengthening their benefits or every single time, this often relates to this often give me perspective like, oh, like why are you trying so hard to like push your benefits to people? Like I'm sorry to say, like, if I really want to join your company, it's better if you need to be honest with me. Like, why do you have such a high turnover rate? Like, why are you hiring for this position? Because this is what I usually do when I ask. I mean, when I call, I mean, like not interview the person lah, like ask the interviewer all this stuff, so that I would know what's going on here and there. Like for example, Shopee is having. I'm not sure whoever here is working in Shopee. Don't kill me. Shopee is constantly having a very high turnover is because of how stressful it is and because of how they evaluate digital kind of stuff and etc. lah. So in my company itself, I also feel like the whole thing, I mean, like, because it's a very small company, everyone is so family like, just doesn't fit me very well, because I feel like, oh, so I have to establish my 100% loyalty to this company until I quit. Is it like it's a bit
Very far-fetched lah, is it?
very far-fetched lah, because a lot of my friends told me, like, at the end of the day lah, you don't put so much loyalty in this company because eventually they might backfire, or because like you don't feel bad if you want to quit. So because there are other better option or better places out there. So yeah, that's the whole context of it. Between half lah.
Okay, the idea of your employer overselling, your interviewer is the one who's overselling the company makes you skeptical. Okay, that's interesting. All right, thank you, Gary, for sharing. I thought that was really just input. Okay, now good point. Loyalty. How loyal are you to your company? I think, to be very frank, this is one of the topics that we will talk about in organizational comms. We will talk about dealing with generational gap. Gone were the days where, like if you were to look at our grandparents' years, right? I think even our parents' year, they are not so much anymore. The loyalty to a company used to be seen as a very important factor when you are applying for a job. So when an interviewer asks you like, so why did you quit your previous job? And then when they look at your resume, those were the days when if they see you like, well, you only stay in company 1 year, 2 years, then you move on, 1 year, 2 years, then you move on. Not a very good worker. So it used to be a factor to not hire someone because you are seen to be not loyal. Precisely that you're not loyal, you won't stay for long. Why should I keep you if you're not going to stay for long? However, I do notice that the trend has been changing, especially with the younger generation. Nowadays, the more you jump, the higher you climb. Of course, it also shows adaptability, that you are able to adapt very quickly to new things very fast. That actually, when you are staying with the company for a year or two, now it seems to be a very, no, it's fine, you know, and then you quit and you move on. Nobody questions the fact that you move on after 1 or 2 years. So I think that's a very interesting topic to talk about loyalty, okay, to a company. So thank you for that. I rather known to some degree, but word of mouth or the tea that I heard, I don't think is true all the time. Yeah, that's right. The whole "we are a family" card is nonsense. When they oversell themselves, get out, save yourself. I agree. Okay, I agree. Yeah. So, okay, thank you very much, everybody. So I hope, well, at least that's a breather for a while. So we're gonna just continue. Right, so now we talk about classical, we talk about scientific. What's the next era after scientific? It's the era that all of you hates the most, which is the era of the organization theory or administrative theory. Now, this was started by a guy called Henry Fayol, where he says managers are made and not born. He does not believe in the saying that managers were born, because it used to be that people felt that being a leader is something you're born with. You know, you are always a born leader, people always say, you know, where since young, this person is very charismatic, and so on and so forth, have the characteristic of being a leader. But he believes that leaders can be made. You can mold a person into a leader no matter how the person is. Now, he has 14 principles that he actually introduces when it comes to management. Now, I would not go to it one by one, but I would like to point out that he introduces the idea of esprit de corps. What is that? That is precisely what you guys just talk about. We are a family, okay? And then you are the best of the best. The idea is that you are a team. We are together in this, you know, because that's, in a way, it's a very good way to manage people. All right. So he has 14 principles, and I won't go through it one by one, but he introduces these principles. All right. He was really a guy that manages, like, you know, you picture a boss that is very schema and manager, like, so I want to manage things one by one. That's him. All right. Now, again, this, like I said, you know, earlier, remember I mentioned I'm not a creative person. Yeah, I fit the box. I like to fit the box. I am a box person, very much so. Okay. Now, then you move on to administrative theory, where it is introduced by this guy called Max Weber. Now, all of you, more so for international students, I'm sure when you say you want to study in Taylor's University, higher, the procedure you have to go through, right? All of you will have to apply student visa. After you get your student visa, then you need to get student pass. Then from their office, go embassy, come over in Malaysia, you pay your fees, do this, do that. There's so many steps before you even step into your first class. Now, even for local students, right? Lupi, let's not start, yeah. So international students, I feel your pain. But even for local students, it's right. Even without a visa and all these things in place, all of you are like, oh, when I want to first start the class, you go and pay the fees. You pay the fees, you register for your class. You register, you add, you drop. Then complain you have to go through. Even when you talk to me, it's like, I'm sure all of you are feeling the pain when you talk to me, because I'll be like, for this matter, can you please email Campus Central? For this matter, can you please email the program director? Can you please email this particular person who's in charge? Why am I bringing this up, right? Because that's the whole point is this. This is the basic of bureaucracy, right? The idea of bureaucracy is that there's layer by layer of which you have to go through. So Max Weber, so if one day you are going through all this layering of go through this person, that person, this person, that person, this person, that person, blame Max Weber, okay? Because Max Weber is the father of bureaucracy. He introduces the theory of bureaucracy, where he says, if you want to be a good company, if you want to be a good organization, everything must have its formal procedure, structure, and process in a company. So he introduces this. And 7 characteristics of bureaucracy is that everything should have a formal rules, law, and procedure. He doesn't buy into things which are informal. Everything must be non-personal, very professional, and everything must have its authority structure. Who reports to who reports to who reports to who. And to him, everybody has their job scope, as what Gary mentioned earlier, the job scope. What is your job scope? You stay there. Stay there, have a lifelong commitment to that. Obey the authority, and everything is by law, by procedure, by rules. This is a way how it goes if you want rationality and predictability. So this is the characteristic of bureaucracy that we know today. Again, you can read the slide for more details on the part of the procedure, the specialization, the hierarchy, non-personal relationship, authority structure, lifelong commitment, and rational and predictability. But I'm sure you get the idea, right? I wouldn't want to go into length to talk about each of this because you get the idea of bureaucracy, and I think for most of you experience it, you know it, and even if, especially if you're working in a large organization, you basically live it through every single day, right? Now, how is it that until today, year 2021, we are still so bureaucratic in so many of our companies and the way we do things? Because bureaucracy is the most suitable and ideal model for a complex and a large organization. Because you see, as a student, imagine if there is no proper rules and procedure in terms of class. So let's just say this week I do class at 6 p.m. Next week I do class at 5 p.m. and another day I do at 4 p.m. There's no rules, no nothing. Imagine if the timetabling department didn't work together with me to get your schedule out. Then you don't know your schedule. The timetabling department don't know your schedule. Campus Central doesn't respond to you. Imagine if we don't have procedures and proper rules and regulations in place. Things will be chaotic. Okay. Now, at the end of the day, bureaucracy is also a very good model because it allows low-level workers to undertake a job. That's why big companies always hire interns, right? Because why? You have very specific job. You follow A, B, C, D, E. That's it, right? The bureaucracy is clear because you have clear procedures and law, and you avoid any uncertainty or gray area. So that's the good thing about bureaucracy. But of course, the bad things about bureaucracy is it becomes very rigid, right? Or cannot, I'm so sorry, I need to go to my boss, and then your boss needs to go to the top management. The top management needs to go and deliberate further, so that every companies have thousands and thousands of meetings every day. I live through that every single day of my life. Meetings, non-stop meetings and all of that, right? So that's the disadvantage of bureaucracy. Decision making become very slow. Like you all, I'm sure you experience it. Like I said, you want to lodge one report also, it takes forever. You want to pay one fees also, there's so many procedures, so many things to go through before you even register for your class. Decision makings become very slow when you use bureaucracy. Sometimes there's too much focus on authority, right? Especially if the person who's put in authority doesn't fit the job. Then you feel like, oh my goodness, but I have to report to this person even though this person doesn't know a thing, because the person has the authority. So creativity is very much controlled in a bureaucracy environment. And of course, sometimes when you put people in a position of power, they can misuse the power. And to get someone to be very good at their job, you need to train them. So you incur a lot of cost in training as well. So even as a lecturer, to teach all of you, I need to go through 40 hours of training every year. And that's the minimum that I must fulfill at least 40 hours of training hours so that I will know how to be a better lecturer. Imagine the costing of that, right? And that's talking about only one person, right? Okay, so bureaucracy. Now, from bureaucracy is when you move to human relations theory. Again, human relations theory, the name also is called human relations, right? So therefore, human relations is a theory that actually sees that, you cannot treat people like non-people, because you, as a manager, you will start to feel that everybody comes with their own problem, everybody has their need, and then sometimes situation change, whether inside a company or outside a company. They feel that classical management and scientific management and bureaucracy doesn't seem to really work. So in 1920s, they came up with human relations theory. And of course, it's by this guy called Hugo Mastenberg. He's the father of industrial psychology. So he looked into the psychological aspect and he was like, well, some people like certain jobs. So you need to get the right worker to do the job. Motivation becomes very important under the theory of human relations. And then what's the most effective way to get a job done? So under this era of human relations theory is where Elton Mayo comes into the picture. I'm not sure whether all of you have heard the word, the Hawthorne effect. The Hawthorne effect is one where, imagine if I'm now looking at all of you, which I am, okay? All of you off your camera, but I know exactly what you are doing, okay? Imagine that. So I know exactly what you're doing right now, okay? So imagine if you're currently eating, and I'm just looking and staring at you while you're eating. Can you imagine that? So if I were to look at you and stare at you without stopping while you are eating, suddenly you become very conscious of the way you eat. Am I right? Suddenly you feel like, okay, do I have something on my face? Am I eating it the right way? Am I eating too fast, too loud, too slow? The idea of Hawthorne effect is that people behave differently when they are being observed. Okay, so how does this effect came about? It was from the Hawthorne study. So in the Hawthorne study, it was an experiment that was done by Mayo and his team. Okay, where he actually looked at, actually a lot of things affect how a person works, including the lighting. The lighting of your office actually matters to your level of productivity. He realized that certain lighting works better for certain industries, certain groups of people, whereas certain people don't work so well in a very bright environment. So that was what he found. And you see, human relations actually, theory actually shows, and even the Hawthorne study shows that people wants to be noticed, and also people care a lot about the social factor, like how happy are you with your colleague? Do you feel like you belong to the people? Are you being managed by effective people? Because even just now, I think one of you mentioned that who is your boss is actually very important in your selection of your job, right? So this again, the Hawthorne studies actually shows this under the human relations theory, all right? Now, at the end of it, what is the contribution of this human relations era was the focus on social need, how a person needs to socialize. You need to know how to deal with the individual, make them to become part of the group, make them feel welcome, make them feel good about their job, right? But the problem is, of course, good relationship doesn't pay you money, right? So the problem with human relations theory is that they focus too much on the human aspect. They don't focus on things such as the structure, the culture of the company, the salary, the job satisfaction, the boss. They really focus about, how do you feel that you belong? Do you feel good? Sometimes you can feel really good about your colleague, but really bad about your boss, right? So these are things that are not taken into consideration under the human relations theory. Now, to cap it off, right? What is the era we are in right now? We are really in the behavioral science era where we are trying to look at human behavior as something that we can study, as something that we can predict. So now, whatever articles that you are reading, do you realize they always talk about what motivates a worker? How do you make sure they have good interpersonal relationship? How do you make sure they are happy and find their job relevant and significant? We try to actually make studying humans something that is science, become a science. But of course, the problem is every human can be very complex and can be very different. So behavioral science is not an exact science. It's not a 99.9% accurate thing, okay? Now, this is where I am, all right? And let's address any questions first before we move on to the activity. I would like all of you to just a quick activity that I would like all of you to get into to actually make you feel more awake after all the bombarding of information. So congratulations for surviving it. So again, let's refresh. Classical to scientific, all right, to human relations, right? Behavioral science as well, we have learned, okay? Of course, we have learned the bureaucracy as well, the management theory, okay, by Henry Weil as well. These are all the different eras and theories that you can actually come up to. Any questions so far on the history of management and organizational communication? Anybody? No? Everybody still awake? Can I have a thumbs up? Thumbs up. All right. Now, what will be the next thing that we're going to do is pretty simple. So what I will do after this, okay, is that I am going to break all of you. We practically have 28 of you, 28 divided by 4. Okay, so each group will have 4 persons. Now what I want all of you to do is I will break all of you into breakout rooms. You can choose your own breakout rooms, okay? So I will create 7 breakout rooms and you choose which room you want to go into. But if let's say the room have more than 4%, please make sure one is out. Okay, move on to the next group. Now, what I want all of you, I will need you to write, okay? At first, I was thinking of asking all of you to write, but I don't think I will ask all of you to write today. Now, we are at 7:20, right? I want all of you to break into rooms, 7 rooms, okay? Each room has 4 persons. Get into the rooms from the many theories that you have heard. I just want you to answer the second question. In the modern context of today's organization, which of the theory do you think is the most applicable theory? And why? So only second question. So I want you to get into the breakout rooms. I want all of you to just talk. Within the group I will not be in. Now it's 7:20, right? Let's just spend, 10 minutes? Which of the theories is most applicable in today's context? Let's spend 10 minutes in your groups discussing with whoever that's in your breakout room, which one do you think is the most relevant theory in today's working context, right? So once we do that, in 10 minutes, I will close the breakout rooms. All of you will come back and then we will discuss what has been picked by each group. All right? So let's do that. I rarely do breakout rooms for master class, but I figure since we have 28 of you, it's always good to do that. Eh? All right? So please go into the room that you are comfortable with. You will get to choose the room that you want to go into. Remember, 4 person in each breakout rooms, all right? Starting from now, see all of you in 10 minutes, yeah? There's still 15 of you not getting into the room. Come on, move, 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 move. Okay, so for those of you who can't, I will assign you to specific group. If you are unable to join, let me see which room is still empty. Okay, room 5. All right, let me see. Okay. Fina, can you see? I've already assigned all of you to the room. Khalid. Can you hear me? Hi Gang, are you there? Hi Gang. Can you please join the room? Hi Gang. Hello Ishmael, can you join the group, the breakout rooms? Welcome back, everybody. First attempt at breakout rooms for master classes. So I gotta get you all talking, not just me, right now. Okay, we'll wait for everybody to come out. Okay, now everybody's back. Is everybody back? Everybody back? Everybody back? Yeah. Okay, 26 of you are back. Let me say, let me see here. Anybody's mic is on. Seems to be hearing sound. Off your mic, people. Anybody mic still on? Okay. Gonna mute all the mic. All right. Okay. Very good. All right. Welcome back, everybody. I'm not very sure how well that works, right? It's very strange because that eventually we ended up with 6 groups rather than 7 groups because all of you were like, okay, enter here, enter there, enter here, enter there, right? Then I just decided that, okay, I'm just gonna make do with it because I don't want to waste everybody's time as well, yeah? All right, so the question that was given to all of you to discuss in the breakout room was, right? From the many theories that we have discussed today, which one, Azmira, how detailed do we have to be? It's like, there's so much things to tell everybody about why you choose it, right? Good, very good. As detailed as you can be, Azmira. All right, but poor thing y'all lah, only got that 10 minutes to discuss, isn't it? But don't have to be very detailed. But of course, if you have things to share with the class as to why you select that, yeah, feel free to do so. Okay. Do I have people from room 1, which is Benny, Hauda, Kaiger, Xianghan, and Sue Chun? Okay. Do we have any representative who would like to talk, or you would like to put it down in the chat? Which theory do you think is the most relevant for today's, for today's working environment? Do we have representative? Ayo, Azmira, sorry, I actually thought that you were talking, you were just replying. I realized that I scrolled up there to talk about the earlier one when you asked how detailed do we need to be. I thought we just talk about, I think we need more time to decide. Okay. Sorry, Azmira, because my chat actually scrolled all the way up. Azmira was like, ooh, I'm confused too. You should have just say one. Okay, Xianghan, we need more time to decide. All right, okay, so group 1 does not have much conclusion yet. What about room 2, where Hongye, Ismail, Jiejiao, Kai Yu, and Wei Yu? Any conclusion from room 2? Which theory was more for today's practical? Now, Xianghan group, you can have your own personal opinion. Which one do you think is the most practical theory and why? I would like room 1 and room 2 to answer, either in the chat, or if you would like to unmute your mic, please feel free to do so. Room 1, room 2, anybody? Well, at least I know at least Xianghan is responding in room 1 lah. Room 2, I don't get any response. Are y'all there? Oh yeah, Ismail, Jiejiao, Kai Yu, Wei Yu, are y'all there? Need more time? Okay. All right, okay, but can I have personal opinion, all right, from your group individually? Do share in the class, because I think the names have been a little bit quiet in this class as well, you know. I don't see much comment from all 10 of you in room 1 and room 2 actually. So if you have your personal opinion, can you all please put it down right now so that I know what individually all of you think? May not have to be coming to a consensus, right? I would love to see your personal opinion. Benny, Hauda, Kaiger, Xianghan, Shechen, Hongye, Ishmael, Jejiao, Kaiyu, and Wei Yu. Take your time to type, but I will come back to all of you later, okay? In a while more. What about room 3? Room 3, what's up in room 3? Asmira, Gary, Khaled, Mingye, Vina, what is your opinion on the most practical theory in today's working environment?
We're just gonna unmute ourselves so that it's easier to talk. All
Yes,
right.
okay, please go ahead.
Vina, do you want to join?
Yep.
Or-
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
here.
All right. So both in the group itself, we agree that the human relation theory is actually more relevant in this current situation. But another half of us also agree that it should be half, meaning to say that it's half human relation and half bureaucracy, administrative theory that. Right.
Okay, that's interesting choice. Okay, who are
Right.
choosing bureaucracy?
I think it's because one our member actually mentioned that, like, in the corporate setting, you need to have bureaucracy to actually step it up. So for example, my not saying my personal, but my friend's personal experience, like for example, he works in Shell. So he used to work in Shell lah. So the moment he want to pass a particular proposal, it goes up to the manager. After it goes up to the manager, it goes up to senior manager. Then it goes up to senior manager, it goes to the head of department. And after head of department goes to the C level. So which is like a really long bureaucracy because that's one way to do a formality. But that is actually for on the corporate side lah. If we to look at the startup side it's very human relation based because there's not much structure. Everyone gets to like engage with each other easily. It's focused a lot of emotional side that like, oh, we help you, we shape you as a person, as a skilled worker. But at the same time, you feel like that actually establish the loyalty to make you not leave the company as also one of it. So we feel like that's how we actually see in the modern context in the organization setting lah.
Okay,
Nina,
so
do you want to add
Gary,
anything?
which one are you? Choose one. Decide on one. Which one are you?
You mean the theory itself?
Yep.
Okay, I would say human relation based on my experience.
Okay, good. All right. So we have Veena, is it, who will be sharing more on your personal opinion?
Actually, Gary did most of the talking, which was fine because he touched every single point that I wanted to say as well. Wherever you go, whatever you do, you need some kind of system. So there needs to be bureaucracy everywhere. It's like, even if you focus on human relations, like, nowadays, this generation, this day, they want to be heard. Everybody wants to talk. Everybody wants to put their 2 cents worth and stuff. But sometimes when you let people talk, when you're an executive, you talk until you go above your boss. So you need to have hierarchy. Hierarchy comes under bureaucracy. Hierarchy is important in a sense where it keeps you in line, like you are an executive. Yes, you are here to tell me what you think, but you are not above me. Please understand that. You need a leader and you need to respect the leader. Hence, I believe that it should be a balance between human relations and that, not too much flexibility. You give too much flexibility, I don't think there'll be a proper system there. And without a proper system, I don't think anyone can function right. That's my take on this.
So either one, human relations or bureaucracy, which one are you, Veena?
I would rather take bureaucracy. Really, I would rather take bureaucracy because I think I've been attached to a company where I had 2 bosses, so they were 2 different people. One focused a lot on procedure. One focused a lot on like doing things step by step properly. The other one is like, whatever way Kang Tao, I get things done. That's it. So I liked both of them, but at the end of the day, the other boss won. The bureaucratic one won because she usually have things like in line, like a record of things and all that. So usually she uses this term. I'm sorry, I'm going to use the word ass. She she uses this term, save your ass. So it's an events company, so it's very important to save your ass. In order to do that, you kind of need to have like a proper flow of work to show people, see, I did this, so you can't point your finger at me. So in that case, bureaucracy wins for me. Thank you.
That is all.
Interesting group, this one. Okay, any other input from this group? Anybody else would like to say something? Asmira, Minye, Khaled, anything to add on to what the two of them have said? No? Quiet? Good. Okay, all right. Thank you for this group. I enjoyed that sharing. Okay. What about people who are in room 5? Bian Yi, Tian Yu, Ming Lin, and Ying Yang. What is your take on this? Gary and Bina already wakil. Okay. Wait, let me just look at the chat. So, took the words right out of group 6 more. Okay. So that means group 6 is more or less the same as group 3. Okay. Bian Yi said, well, so that means Bian Yi is representing the group. I think the theory of administrative management is most applicable in today's society. Okay, bureaucracy has formal rules and law which can be constrained and protected by law. Members are specialized with division of labor, each performing its own duty. Modern people are easy to feel insecure. Okay. Wait, when people are given a lifetime commitment, worker become dependent on the organization, and the probability of employee turnover will be greatly reduced. He is better suited to most companies and organizations, and it's relatively stable. Okay, so in another word, what Bian Yi is trying to say is that a person who is into the bureaucracy theory will be likely to be suited in different companies and also organizations. Of course, it tends to be more stable. Interesting point that you said that modern people tend to be more insecure. Okay, that's funny way of putting it. Maybe we are, right? When things changes all the time. So insecurity in our work does plays a big part. So Ying Ya say interpersonal relationship in the workplace is very important. Good interpersonal relationship can let you in the workplace feel more relaxed and cheerful, has the solidarity and communication, more conducive to work. Not only can let you get the job done easily, also can keep you good mood, harmonious workplace. Also, sorry, wait, somehow the chat, okay, I need to close. Okay. Can let you keep good mood, harmonious workplace, always feel too comfortable, and also more conducive to work. So good relationships are half the battle. Interesting. Good relationship is half of the battle, okay? Nice saying, When you learn how to relate to others, you will know what to say, what to do. Learn to understand, accept, appreciate, motivate, appreciate. So she does appreciate twice, Yingya's like how important it is to appreciate people. Pay attention to, care for others to win more friends, cooperation, and contact. Okay, very good. I think that's a very, in another word, you are choosing human relations, right? So human relations seem to be important because good human relations leads to higher productivity. That's the belief of human relations theory. So Singhan say the first group choose bureaucracy because employee could be selected batch by batch and then company distribute them to suitable places. You can raise the efficiency, save the training budget, create a trend for all employees to work hard by following rules. While the company can approach more to the future if designed in expected time. That means you can get more in future. I think that's what you're trying to say, right? So Jie Jiao also say bureaucracy is more appropriate, defines the duty and obligation. Everybody needs to be governed by rules and regulation. So in some companies in China, they think of a large company as a constantly running machine in which each person is a screw responsible for running a part of it. I think this type of management is more efficient. Thank you for this group input. All right. Do we still have, well, room 6, according to Asha and Hamra, basically your input is the same as group 3, right? Anything else you would like to add? And did we have room 7 given their input as well? From Carrie, Wenjie, Yue Zhao, and Ziqiang. What is your opinion? Wow, that's a long writing. So Yue Zhao say, oh, Yue Zhao, Zhao Yue, right, your name? Which way? Our group choose human relations theory because to maximize employee satisfaction, okay? The factors, the first factor is worker satisfaction, production condition and wages. So we talk about employee satisfaction, the higher the production efficiency. Yep. High satisfaction come from effective satisfaction of workers' personal need, not only material, but also spiritual need. So leaders must respect and trust employee, work hard from the spirit of employee, establish their sense of ownership, and let them participate in the production and operation activities of the enterprise wholeheartedly. Leaders must pay attention to the communication with the employees, eliminate misunderstanding, constantly improve the quality of employees, and learn to share the benefit with the employee. Very good. Esprit de corps, right? What we were mentioning earlier. Zhao Yue. Yeah, that's why I was like, Zhao Yue, okay. Human relations theory, okay, wow. Advantage of human relations, improve the productivity, remove the grievance, improve the retention, hiring and training the workforce, creates good human relationship, improve the goodwill of the company. Disadvantage does not include productivity, cost of setup, installation, and training, very time consuming. Yeah, actually human relations theory is really more conceptual rather and more theoretical, and sometimes difficult for you to place them in a practical environment. Okay, so thank you very much guys for your input. All right, I hope this hasn't been a boring lecture for all of you. Hope you guys actually got something out of it, because I guess at the end of the day, you know, whatever theories that we learn, we try to ensure that one day when you are a manager, one day when you are overseeing people, these are things that you will recall back and you will say, all right, if we were to look at theoretical aspect, these are the needs of human beings under me, you know. So what is the best approach that I want to use? You see, being a leader and a manager is all about consistency. There is no one size fits all, which is why you can see all of you, some of you choose human relations, some of you choose bureaucracy, some of you, you know, are comfortable in different ways, right? Now, all of the different ways at the end of the day, what is most important is your consistency in applying. You wouldn't want to be a leader that is unpredictable and people don't know what you want, people don't know what you need. You seem to be changing by time. We human, we evolve, yes, but you must always have an approach that is predictable so that people know that if I'm working for this person expects this of me. This person expects me to keep up with the relationship. This person expects me to be loyal to the team. What is your approach? You see, now you have to flip the coin. You are not the person who's working, but one day, all of you, you will be the one who will be managing people instead. So when you are managing people and when you are trying to get a group together, what is your best approach? Those are the kind of things you should be thinking by now when you are doing your master, you know. What kind of leader am I going to be? All right. So I hope you guys will put that into your mind as well. All right. That would be it for today's class. Unless anybody have any questions, I know that we do have one student who would like to see me after the class for a quick consultation. We can do that. All right. Thanks for the insightful lesson. Sorry to be broken. Yes, I'm smarter this semester, Mingye. I've already done the upload of last week's lecture into my Google Drive. So I will share with all of you in your times, okay? And then today's lecture as well, I will do that. Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Let's just take your attendance, okay, everybody? Can you please open up your cams right now? Please open up your cams. Right. Can you see the passcode? Yeah. Okay, I see Hong Ye giving input on classical management, talking about the advantages and the disadvantages of classical management. Okay, classical managements have a role in today's business management. That's a very good point. If classical management still has its place, like I mentioned earlier, there are many concepts that we are taking today which are from the classical management, right? In improving quality and improving work efficiency. Yes, it's in management method is still very important even until today. It was established under the background of productivity development level at that time. Very good, very good. From the group too, okay. But the disadvantages, of course, yeah, is too objective, right? And you can't really improve. And of course, improving productivity at the end of the day is the main goal, right? Classical management theory gives very little consideration to the development environment of the enterprise. Yeah, that's right, that's right. I do agree. Where you think human relations is more important? All right. First, maybe more rigid. More interpersonal. Yeah. Sorry, doctor, our group is too slow. Don't say that. Okay. It's all right. It's all right to take your time as long as you participate in the things that are going on. Okay. So where you think that human relations is more interpersonal, right? More interpersonal focus, more click. Yeah. Okay. Interesting input from everybody, right? Okay, let's just see. Has everybody taken your attendance? Yes, 28 of you. Very good. Let me export your attendance. All right, everybody. Thank you for being in today's class. I hope, again, reminder, continue to look for your article. Please start to work on your assignment 1. You know I'm always here if you were to have questions with regards to your assignment 1. Let's get it moving in another 2 weeks' time for your submission, all right? So all the best for that. And with that, I will end today's class unless anybody still have any questions, either with regards to the assignment or if you have questions with regards to the class. If no, I guess we are good to be dismissed, yeah? Thanks, doctor. Yeah. All right. Okay, we will stay. So Daniel, please stay back, yeah? Yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night. Have a good dinner. Have a good sleep. Good night. Good night. Good night. Thank you, everybody.